This is Mr. Rafe Esquith. He wrote Lighting Their Fires. Mr. Esquith has been a teacher for 24 years at Hobart Elementary in Room 56 in Los Angeles, California. Mr. Esquith discusses several different topics in this book, such as time management and how children can become good decision makers. I'd have to say that Mr. Esquith is very passionate about making sure students are very successful. He also helps the parents understand how important their role plays in their success. The pregame begins at Hobart Elementary, where Mr. Esquith is getting his things together to take students to a LA Dodgers baseball game. He was given the opportunity to take 5 kids to games throughout the season. Mr. Esquith discusses his students and how others perceive them as well-behaved, extraordinary children. Mr. Esquith explains that these children were not born extraordinary, but became that way. This is a central theme of his book. He discusses that children are born with varying levels of talent and intelligence. This is where every person in a child's life molds them into the human beings they should be. So the saying, "It takes a village to raise a child," is true. Mr. Esquith has explained that there isn't one way to raise a child, that there are many views and beliefs to raise a child, and that makes everyone unique. In conclusion to the pregame, he includes his biggest fear, and that being his children will be mediocre by not using their talents in the way that they need to, because he knows his children are capable of much more.
This is Catherine Warren. I'm discussing the beginning of the chapter titled Third Inning, I Can See for Miles and Miles. And Mr. Esquith is at the baseball game with his students, and one of the first things he talks about is the Diamond Vision screen, which is this huge electronic board that so many people are watching, and it's continually showing these commercials, and it's very loud, and it's kind of the jumping off point for him to talk about television. Also, there are some latecomers to the game. There are 4 adults and 1 child, and the child is so heavily engrossed in his little video game. Mr. Esquith goes on to give some statistics about television viewing and how that affects students' academics and grades and even future college graduation rates. He also gives a story that I really find very interesting, and it's about a 5th grade teacher who teaches in the inner city, and he's very passionate. He really cares for his students, and he notices this one girl who has not been turning in her homework for day after day, and she's also just very tired every day. And he has not gotten a response from the parents with any of the phone calls or notes that he sent home. So one evening, he goes to the girl's apartment, and the mother answers the door, and he can see into the apartment that the little girl is sitting on the floor, eating her food, and staring at the TV. And so he asks the mother, and the mother says, well, she stays up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching TV. And she says, but what can I do? So this teacher tells her, well, you can turn the TV off, or please at least make sure she's done her homework before she watches TV. And the mother says, okay, I can do this. So then after 2 more days of still no homework, the teacher goes back to this apartment, and the mother answers the door, and he tells her again the problem. And this time she says, well, there's nothing that she can do. And the teacher, in his frustration, he says, well, there's something I can do. And he goes inside to the apartment, takes the television, and walks out. So I'm going to pick up in the book where Mr. Esquith writes, for those who are working diligently with kids, you've got to love the passion and the sentiment behind this outrageous act. In many ways, one wants to commend this teacher for original thinking. But after the laughter stops, we need to dig a bit deeper. This teacher's behavior is understandable, but it is not good teaching. In fact, it's not teaching, it's bullying. The ultimate goal in raising a child is to get him to turn off his own television set. And this is the point I want to talk about. This teacher is obviously frustrated, and to describe the teacher as a bully, I'm not sure I agree with that. And I do agree with the statement that the point is to get the child to choose to turn off his own TV. But here's the problem. This mother has no desire to teach the child to turn off the TV. This mother does not know how to turn off the TV. And this is a snapshot, I believe, into parenting these days, where the breakdown has happened, not just in regards to TV, but in the role of parents. This mother does not realize the authority she has. She doesn't realize the responsibility she has. She is not acting as the gatekeeper of her home. She is not acting as the filter for her home. She is letting a TV raise her child. And that's where the problem lies. And that is something that I wonder, looking ahead as a future teacher, where does the teacher's job pick up? Because the parent has fallen down on the job in regards to not academics, but discipline, responsibility, self-motivation, those types of things that the parents are not instilling in their children. And those are things that concern me looking ahead. But Mr. Esquith does have a wonderful philosophy of trying to teach self-motivation to children and enrich them and empower them to get the very best education possible. And I have enjoyed reading him so far.
In the middle of the third inning, the book discusses how that at the end of the inning or in the middle of the inning, no one's enjoying the baseball experience of actually sitting at the game and discussing the game with other people in the stadium. They're too busy focused on the Jumbotron and the commercials and all the advertisement that's coming from the Jumbotron, and that's taken away from the experience. The book also talks about how when telling kids that they shouldn't watch TV and they can't watch TV, that you shouldn't just say because I said so, because that's basically just barking commands at them instead of giving them a reason why they shouldn't, and sitting out and discussing with them what they could be doing instead of that. In the bottom of the third inning, the book talks about how we should learn to filter what we watch and when we watch TV, because even though there is educational TV, we will never find it if we just sit down and watch TV all day, every day. We should figure out what we want to watch and when we want to watch it. And it also describes how there are too many screens just in everyday life. And it makes a joke on having a TV, on one of the kids finding that there's a TV in the restroom. And the kid jokes, why would you even who watches TV in the restroom? Then it goes on to describe a DC trip that they took where the kids were basically being thrown, monitors were being thrown towards the kids just as distractions, just to keep them occupied, when they already had other plans to pass the time during their flight and everything like that. And it was basically saying that the kids were talked down upon and that the kids were and that the kids should just conform to society and just watch TV or watch a DVD player or watch a movie when they could be doing other things like reading books and working on Sudoku puzzles and all other kinds of puzzles. And it also talks about how when the flight attendant announced that they were descending and that they couldn't listen to the headphones, that people still watched the TV even though they did not know what was going on or what was being said. And it basically made everybody else seem like mindless people for doing so. And it's saying that this is a prime example why people should start to go away from TV screens as much as possible.
In the third inning, we look at the section The Bigger Picture. We see that the students discover a frightening truth while they were visiting Washington, D.C. That television not only wastes one's time, but subtly shapes our values. This realization came after the children watched a segment on CNN where the top story was about adults fighting to get the latest video game system. The children wondered who decided to make this the most important story when there were more significant events happening in the world. These students get it, but how many others haven't figured this out yet? How can we as parents or educators help children to question the importance and the truth about what is shown on television? How do we keep children from falling prey to the temptations of television? Rafe Esquith offers some suggestions. First, he says to set time limits. No television on a school night. Be consistent with TV rules. Keep media out of the bedroom, and make TV a family affair. Watch a program and then afterward evaluate the message. If you would like for your children to read some books that would tell them about the dangers of watching too much television, he suggests for young children The Wretched Stone by Chris Van Allsburg. For older children, Animal Farm by George Orwell, and for middle and high school students, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. If your child would be more interested in watching a movie, there are two he recommends. The first, for mature high school students, would be Sidney Lumet's Network. He also recommends Quiz Show, directed by Robert Redford. Both movies show the true colors of television, exposing a side of the screen that most viewers never see. Now, how did we get on the subject of television? Oh yeah, the third inning of the Dodgers game. People were being entertained by the Jumbotron and almost forgetting about the event taking place that they had paid big money to come see. But not little Caesar. He was excited because the Dodgers were closing the gap by scoring a run. Caesar is one of Rafe's students in room 56, and he had learned firsthand from his older sister Tracy where one should place their focus. Tracy used to be a student in room 56, and she is now a senior in high school with an unlimited number of scholarship offers from colleges everywhere. She still visits the classroom and talks to young students about focusing on things such as reading, studying, choosing your friends carefully, and finding a balance between work and play. But when asked what's the most important advice you can give us, Tracy quickly replied, "Stay away from television. It weakens and limits you." So are we going to be able to keep young people from watching television? It may seem like an impossible task. It's much like the story in the post-game show that tells of a man standing on a beach surrounded by thousands of starfish that have washed ashore and are dehydrating. He knows he can't save them all, but that doesn't keep him from trying. Each one he throws back is at least one more he saves. So are we going to save all the children from the dangers of television? Can we say that every student we teach will become world scholars or have numerous scholarship offers? Probably not, but you never know which one you'll impact the greatest. And that's the bigger picture. Starring the ON Group: Kayla Sandifer, Catherine Warren, Julian Harris, Tanya Finley. Sources in order of appearance: The Lion King, The Doors, Taco Bell, randomhouse.com, goldenrankings.com, parentingpink.com, jezebel.com, travelbuddy.com, blog.flightstory.net, images from bing.com, CNN Breaking News, No Television, Boy Watching Television, Hotel Room, Family Watching Television, The Wretched Stone, Animal Farm, Fahrenheit 451, Network, Quiz Show, Jumbotron at Dodgers Game, Dodgers Score Run, Starfish, Elephant Balancing, Man on Beach with Starfish, and Child with Blocks.